I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on the Spotlight Network, we're diving into a gripping first-hand account of how COVID-19 reshaped our world. We're talking with a terrific author. His name is Steve Gleadhill, and he's written a powerful book. It is called O Brave New Normal World, Living with Coronavirus. In the book, he takes readers beyond the headlines to examine how the pandemic disrupted life as we knew it. This eye-opening book explores global systems, human nature, and the lasting effects of one of the most defining events in modern history. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Prime 7 Media for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. And be sure to download the Spotlight Network TV app streaming on Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and Apple TV. Steve, thanks so much for joining me here today on Spotlight.
I'm glad to be here, Logan. Nice to meet you.
Great to meet you as well. What do you think the bottom line message of your book is? Is there one or two or three key thoughts that you think are extremely important for our viewers and for readers to know?
Yeah, I mean, to me, certainly for our generation, it was a completely unique event because it just stopped everything. Mm-hmm. And so first of all, we had to adapt to that. And I think, although there were pluses and minuses, generally we got through it. But I don't think we learned from it. So for instance, the atmosphere, for instance, because there was no cars or anything going around, and then people were working from home, etc. And then as soon as the opportunity came to revert back to how we were, people rushed to it rather than saying, well, hang on, what have we learned from the fact that we virtually came to a standstill for that, for those months. Yeah. And in a way, it warned us. It came back because of the second wave and beyond. We were in a position where we said, well, actually, we're not over it, and we're not even over it today. There's still links to the COVID, etc. But what saddened me the most was that when we had a chance to look at things like getting back to nature, learning not perhaps to be so used to technology and things like this, because again, when you look at how it panned out, there was a great division between the rich people and the poor people, and it was the poor people who were losing the jobs, etc. Meanwhile, quite a lot of the people who were involved in some of the technologies, Jeff Bezos and people like that, they were actually increasing their wealth.
Yeah. It seems to me we missed the boat on a couple of different things. One, we kind of overprotected the general population and younger population, which wasn't needed, and underprotected the older population and the vulnerable population, which was needed, right?
I would agree with that, Logan, yes, because what happened was, I mean, obviously, when you looked at the statistics, initially, certainly in that first wave, the people who were dying were of the older and also from some of the other ethnic groups that weren't quite as well, protected. They were also doing the difficult jobs. They were the ones in the hospitals delivering, etc., so they're invulnerable. But certainly the older people were the ones that were hit very early on. I think the trouble with the younger generation was, I quite agree with you that they were less vulnerable. However, because of things like, once we learned that coronavirus was asymptomatic, you could have had a lot of the younger people who were actually carrying the disease, but were actually spreading it. And of course, then again, older people become more and more vulnerable to that. So we didn't really learn just the effects of how asymptomatic coronavirus training was going to affect people. But once we realised that, hence why you had all the contact tracing and all that sort of thing.
Yeah. Do you think we've learned anything? I mean, here we are 5 years later. I think if COVID 27 were to hit, I don't think we're any better prepared than we were
No.
back in 2020, right?
No, I would totally agree with you, and I think that's the thing. We may be the good thing from it. I mean, one of the pluses was how quick they got the vaccine out,
Hmm.
considering normally it takes years because you're trying and testing. So there was good things from that. So we might be better prepared there. But in terms of our lifestyles, I don't think we have. We seem to want to rush back
Hmm.
to the things. One of the amusing things, well, I say it's amusing, but depends on your point of view. But when the pandemic first came out, people were rushing to get toilet paper. I don't know if it was the same in America,
Yes.
but in Britain and where I was at the time, which was Australia, they were rushing and there were people were fighting over it. And I was sat there thinking, is toilet paper the most crucial thing that's happening to us in this crisis? And I felt that was because people needed to hang on to something tangible that they could do. But in terms of learning, I don't think we've learned a lot from that pandemic. And if COVID 2027 came out, I think we would have more or less the same repercussions.
Exactly. Let's look at society. People started working remotely. Many
Yeah,
still work remotely.
yeah.
Our cities were hard hit and are still hard hit because of it, because we don't have that influx of workers every day into the city. Has society changed for the better, worse, or a little bit of both?
I don't think it's changed at all. I think it has changed because one of the things is, as you mentioned, we worked more remotely, so people are doing that.
Yep.
But the trouble is that that's then affected high streets, and indeed the small businesses like cafes and things that would
Mhm.
rely on city centre income. I mean, I imagine it's the same for you, but here I've seen quite a lot of, and major stores as well, having to close down or choosing to close down in some of the settings. So it has affected our way of life that way. And I think the sad thing is that we're relying more and more on doing things remotely rather than necessarily saying, well, I'll go into the city and do that and mix with people.
Yeah. I think we've got a whole generation of people who now rather order food to their door than go to a
Yeah,
restaurant, would rather order Amazon boxes to their
yeah,
door rather than go to a department store. I think people learn to isolate and enjoy, I guess, the comfort level of being apart from society for the introverted aspects of ourselves. To the detriment of society, where we got out into the
yeah,
marketplace, we mixed, we worked with people, they mentored, we created together. Uh,
yeah.
I think a whole generation has been born into that, stay away. I only want to talk to a digital facsimile of you, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. There's other sort of developments that have happened as well, like for instance, using fake voice and things, but which I think just proves your point,
Hmm.
which is we've no longer we're starting almost to sort of wonder, well, what is reality and what's being fabricated, and and I think you're absolutely right. I think a generation's coming up that somehow, other than maybe going out with the friends for a drink, but in general society are actually moving away from
Hmm.
personal contact.
Yeah, it's
I think
very
that's absolutely
strange.
right.
Yeah, it's a brave new world, to paraphrase your book
Yes,
title a
yes,
little bit, because our it's amazing how quickly we learn not to socialize and how quickly we learn not to work. Because people don't
yeah,
seem to want to work anymore. They want to lay on their
yeah,
couch with a laptop and just go like this and answer
yeah, yeah,
emails, right?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree more. I think from a society's point of view, that has been a real danger that we've moved that. And I mean, it's things like we're moving towards a cashless society.
Yeah.
Here in Britain, well, in fact, in my hometown, they're removing ATMs that you would go to and get cash out. And that's symbolic to me of the fact that we're now doing everything by PayPal or by direct debits or whatever.
Yeah.
And we're not, so the opportunities to meet with people or go in somewhere are just getting less and less.
Oh yeah, you used to go to the bank every day. You met with the
Yeah,
teller, you waited
yeah,
online to get to the teller, you chatted with people. Then it became the ATM, and now it's if we have a cashless society also, it gives the government so much control. If they
yeah,
decide that Steve Gleadhill owes X number of dollars to the revenue service, dink, it's gone,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
I mean, I
yeah.
think it's I think there's a lot of danger there as well. What do you hope readers take away from your book?
What I hope is that there would, first of all, particularly that first book, because there are 4 books all told, because I do about the repercussions. You mentioned about elderly people. Well, some of the some of the incidents that happened in the care homes in the UK
Mhm.
was horrific.
Yeah,
People were being sent from hospital knowing we've got coronavirus into an environment where there were people who were vulnerable.
yeah,
But I think that's so I do in the later books cover that because there's also I've covered international relations because I think they were affected by it as well. But the lesson I want to get is the scale of how it happened and what it entailed in terms of us having to basically shut down and reorganize ourselves. That's what I want. That's what I would hope the book would bring over. Would be the level of um, disruption that we had. And as I say, what I said earlier, which is having done that, we seem to have been more keen to go back to that pre-pandemic way of life rather than saying, well, what did we learn from it?
yeah. Yeah, I don't think there's been a lot of postmortems done on
Right.
what the actual impact of the virus was, what the actual impact of the vaccine was, what the
Mm-hmm.
actual impact on society and individuals is, and
Mm-hmm.
how students who, were in high school and college during that time period are going to fare going forward. So this, I think,
That's a
is
very good point.
the beginning of a series for you, Steve. You've got 4 books out there already, and
Well, there's 3 out actually,
3
Logan.
out.
Three,
Okay.
three out. The fourth's due out later this year.
Oh, okay, wonderful, wonderful. Well, the book we've been primarily focusing on today, folks, is called A Brave New Normal World, Living with Coronavirus. In it, Steve takes readers beyond the headlines to examine how the pandemic disrupted life as we knew it. It is an eye-opening book that explores global systems, human nature, and the lasting effects of one of the most defining events in modern history. Steve, thank you so much for joining me here today on Spotlight.
Thank you, Logan. Thank
I
you for the
appreciate your
chance.
time, sir, and I appreciate your wisdom and your insight. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.